Now we will begin with our first question, and we will start with Kolene. Kolene, what prompted you to run for this position?
I was prompted to run for this position because I've been at Gearing for 7 years as a substitute. And at the time I started at Gearing, they had just sent 3 students to service academies. Cell phones were not a problem. Chromebooks were on a cart. Not everybody had one. People were afraid. Students were afraid to go to the principal, so they behaved. And it was generally a really nice place to work. And over the last 7 years, I've seen it decline to where now we have 3 alternative schools for kids who don't care, and we can't send anyone to a service academy. Nobody qualifies. And so I'd like to see Gearing back up to the top of the academic ladder.
Kolene, what is your philosophy when it comes to parental involvement in the development of curricula and other issues affecting their child's education?
Well, I believe that parental involvement is utmost important, obviously very, very important, because kids belong to their parents. They don't belong to the school district. And it is the responsibility of the parents to educate the kids, to make sure their kids get a good education, whether they send them to public school or whatever they choose to do. And so I think that that is very important. I also think after going to board meetings for the last 7 months and having a family full of teachers, so I've heard about it from the time I could walk, I think sometimes it's good for parents to make sure that teachers and administrators don't necessarily go off on bandwagons. And Gearing has been very good not to do that. But it's easy to see, oh, this is a new fad in education, let's go with it. And I think it's important for parents to step in and go, wait a minute, what are we doing this and why are we doing this and what is the ultimate goal? Our ultimate goal at Gearing is to produce leaders, contributing members of society, and people that are going to succeed in the world. And so we need to make sure that the curriculum we're coming up with is actually achieving those goals.
Thank you. Kolene, what other career pathways would you like to see developed?
Well, I have to agree with Rick. I've subbed in a lot of Rick's classes, and he's in good company with Mike Rowe, that I totally believe that we really need to push on the trades. My husband's a contractor, and we need people in the trades. That needs to be an expansion, and that needs to be maybe not interfered with. I know there's some scheduling conflicts at the high school with that. But in order to get them up there and get them proficient, after having spent 3 long-term subs in English, I would really like our kids to be at a better rate of reading, writing, and basic communication. We really have a problem with that. Kids aren't reading, they don't like to read, they don't read well, they can't do basic math, and they can't write a paper to save their necks. And so while those are parts of the trades, you have to be able to communicate. You have to be able to read. If you can't read directions, you're not going to be able to plumb. And so while I want to see the trades definitely where I believe we really need to push, we also need to get the basics going on. And I would like to find out where we're losing that, because when I get them at the high school, they're not proficient. Where is that happening? I would really like to find out and take care of that issue for the basics. And personal finance. Got to have personal finance in there.
Gearing Public Schools has partnered with Scottsbluff Schools in a number of areas, some extracurricular activities, like notably the swim team. How much farther should collaboration go, and would you ever consider an instance to consolidate the districts?
I love the Sea Cats. I think they're terrific. The kids are amazing. That collaboration to me is enough. No, I don't think we should ever consolidate with Scottsbluff. And my reasoning goes back to, I went to Henry for grade school. We had 12 rural schools. We were proud. 12 of us little schools, we did really great. We had the county tournaments, and we had all of that. And my kids got the opportunity to go to Cedar Canyon for a year, and then they merged into Gearing. And they told us it would be fine. It's not fine. The kids we turned out with those rural schools, they were great kids. Most of them turned out to be really, really successful. I think we lose it in the money. And yes, I know money drives, but I agree with Mike. I don't think money can be the only driving factor. If we want to turn out kids with pride and a work ethic is huge right now. We're having a real problem with that. If we want to turn kids out like that, I think that we need to remain in our districts, and I think we need to really focus on making our district the very best it can possibly be, which is one reason I'm here.
Thank you. The district has had to secure a line of credit with a local financial institution to protect district cash flows. What do you believe the district needs to do to stabilize funding, especially when state aid fluctuates year to year?
Well, first of all, I do know that cash flow is an issue. I've been a business owner twice. I've owned two different businesses. And it is hard. Cash flow is hard. And so I don't see any alarm with having a line of credit. I think that's smart business practice. I'm not familiar with a lot of the ways school districts are funded and how everything comes together. So that is something that I will have to learn, being on the board and understanding that. But I do understand that budgeting is huge, regardless what you're involved in. And so making sure that things are properly budgeted, make sure you stay within that budget, and of course have your slush funds for when things do go wrong, because that's life. But I think that that's something that I need to learn about, and things like that. But I do know that cash flow can be a huge issue. And so I am glad that they do have the line of credit and a local bank works with them.
Colleen, what do you believe the board's stance should be when it comes to the proper age to begin sex education? And when should controversial subjects of gender identity and fluidity be introduced?
I am guided in my answer by the fact that I am a Christian, and I don't believe it's the school's job to introduce any of this. I believe that is up to parents, and I believe that parents are the ones that have to decide how they're going to handle that situation. I don't believe the school has that job. I don't think it's their job at all. When we go back to health standards and that whole mess with the Nebraska Department of Education, they have not abandoned that. They have put it on the shelf, and it is going to be something we're going to have to face. But I don't believe it's something that the school should be involved in. Health should be cleaning, taking a shower, things like that in the elementary grades. Yes, in the high school, these kinds of issues are going to be discussed, but they shouldn't be introduced by the school. That's not the school's job. So while they can be discussed in the high school setting by students, that's fine, and whatever happens there, high school, we're preparing them to be adults. That's a little bit different situation. I don't believe it's ever the school's responsibility to deal with health standards, gender fluidity, or anything like that. I don't think that's the school's job.
Colleen, should the grading scale be that rigorous, or should it conform more closely to post-secondary grade scales?
I think the grading scale should remain the same and should be that rigorous. I think, what are we trying to turn out here? We're trying to turn out the best of the best. And we can't do that by constantly lowering the bar. And so I can tell you that it does help kids to have the 94 to 100 grading scale if you're an overachiever and if you're shooting for the stars. Because I've had recruiters from the Naval Academy tell me that if they had a kid, and unfortunately my son lost out first round to those three that went to service academies. My son was at Scotts Bluff, where they had the 90 to 100 and wasn't that great. But they looked at the grading scale. And so he lost out. And then it made him work harder, and he was accepted the next time. But the point of the matter is, what are you trying to turn out? And I truly believe that we need to do that. We need to leave that grading scale high. We need to make those kids work hard. Because yes, the pressure is there. But guess what? Life is full of pressure. And if you're going to be an overachiever, you're going to push. And you're going to get it. And you're going to have a sense of accomplishment. And that right there is victory.
Thank you. Colleen, if you're elected at the end of your 4-year term, how would you define success?
I'm going to walk into a classroom, and the kids are going to be able to read proficiently and like champs. I'm going to sub in an English class, and they're going to write me a 5-page essay, and it's going to just make me smile. I'm going to walk into a math class, and they're going to know basics, and when I ask them their times tables, they're going to rattle them off. I'm going to walk to the construction site, and I'm going to watch them put together a house and do it really, really well. I'm going to see that maybe they know electrical, maybe they know plumbing. I'm not going to see everybody pushing, everybody's got to go to college, but we're going to see trades. We're going to see kids maybe starting their own businesses in the trades. But my biggest thing would be that the kids love to read and that they can write and that they can do that. And so that's my success. I'm going to walk into a classroom as a sub, and I'm going to see those things.
Thank you. Okay, we will give each of you 1 minute for closing statements.
I've enjoyed my 7 years at Gearing. I've become a bulldog. I'm a transplant. I went to Torrington High School. I went to Henry for grade school. I want to see Gearing at the top of the academic ladder. I don't want to see us spending all of our time and resources on kids who don't care Not that we don't care about the kids. We want them to do their very best. But we want to make sure they know they have to try. I want to see us spend our time and our effort on making sure Gearing is at the top of the ladder. They're reading, they're writing, they're doing personal finance, they're doing the trades, they're doing everything, and that we are turning out kids who are contributing members of society, leaders in society. And that's what we're doing. And so that's why I'm running, and that's why I would appreciate your vote. I'm bringing a special perspective, being a sub, almost full-time now for 4 years, from Gearing High School. And so I'm right before they enter society. And so I would appreciate your vote on May 10th.
I'd like to thank all of our candidates running for Gearing Public Schools Board of Education for participating in tonight's forum. Greg, Brian, John, Krista, Rick, Mike, Gloria, Brandon, Colleen, thank you all for being here. We hope you at home, this helps you in deciding who you wish to vote for. As a reminder, in the May 10th primary election, you'll be allowed to vote for 3 candidates. The top 6 vote getters in the primary election will advance to the November general election. This candidates forum is one of several being presented by the Government Affairs Committee of the Scottsbluff-Gearing United Chamber of Commerce. We again would like to thank the Rural Radio Scottsbluff staff for recording this forum so you can view it, the timers, students from Gearing Public Schools for volunteering, the Chamber staff, and the Gearing Civic Center for hosting us this evening. On behalf of the Scottsbluff-Gearing United Chamber of Commerce Government Affairs Committee, and for my co-chair Don Wolf, I'm Bill Boyer. Thank you for joining us, and remember, get out and vote.